Though our drivers have raced oval cars frequently in this series, every prior track has been a road course. Today, we break that tradition by hitting up the world's most famous superspeedway, Daytona. While drinking has been common in the stands, today it happens on the track as we get ready to watch For Drink Friday, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Since we imagine many of our fans of this series tend toward the road side of things, let's head down to our track guide to learn more about Daytona. Welcome to Daytona International Speedway. This track began life after Bill France Sr. realized the Daytona Beach road course had outgrown itself. With ambitious plans and the blessing of the city officials, he built what would become the very first superspeedway in NASCAR history. At 2.5 miles and with 31 degrees of banking, stock cars easily reach speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Pretty much every car can take the course flat out. This makes for one of the most unique styles of racing motorsports has ever seen. The slipstream allows drivers to stay with one another so easily that it becomes less about the speeds each driver can reach and more about the strategy of racing in a pack. Bump drafting is a technique in which the car behind actually pushes the car in front so that both are able to reach higher speeds. And side drafting is another in which the drivers use the air off the sides of their cars to slow their opponents down. Staying out of trouble is always a difficult aspect of superspeedway racing, and it's not uncommon to see drivers intentionally move to the back of the pack to avoid the chaos. In fact, the high speeds make large wrecks so hard to avoid that the term "the big one" has become commonplace to refer to the almost inevitable multi-car pileups the circuit is known for. Also, entering pit lane is its own skill, which requires practice in order to slow the car up as quickly and safely as possible. Keeping the car clean and in contention is the main goal for much of the event. Then the final few laps, it's a race to the line with any alliances usually dissolving and the driver's urge to win taking over. With it being home to one of the world's most famous races, the Daytona 500, fans from around the globe flock to this landmark circuit. Just like the cars on it, the Daytona International Speedway shows no signs of slowing down. Well, DJ, it's the high banks of Daytona. It's the Xfinity cars. Normally, I'd say this is going to be standard fare, but we're throwing drinking into the mix.
We are, Joe, and that's going to make things very, very interesting. But as for how these cars are going to perform, well, we know what it's going to be. It's going to be about the draft here. It's going to be about pack racing and keeping things as nice and clean as possible. Bump draft is going to come into play with these Xfinity cars and just trying to keep a straight line as much as possible despite the amount of inebriation these drivers may be facing. Well, that's where it could get very, very tricky. I certainly think that some fast pairs may be used here tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But before we get to the racing itself, let's talk about our sponsors, which include Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. As well as Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretired.com. Now let's take a look at the race details for this event. Since it is slightly different, it is still a 40-minute race. And as you can see, we have the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars here at Daytona. Now, as usual, they must drink 4 12-ounce alcoholic beverages, but since this is an oval race, they can do those during the cautions. Now, they don't have to stop like they normally do on road courses. They can take the drinks during the cautions. In fact, that is when they are supposed to do them. And we'll try and cover that a little bit more. But that will be interesting since the cautions are going to be automatic. And that leaves some question marks on when you can drink. Do you risk taking them all at the beginning? Or do you try and wait till the end and hope that we get cautions there? Fixed setup so the drivers at least don't have to worry themselves about that aspect of it today. considering they don't really have to try and focus on being quick out there, but just avoiding what I expect will be some chaos on the track itself. We're just in the last moments of this qualifying session. It's been open qualifying, which, as you can imagine, has thrown up a bit of a question mark on the pole position, since it'll come down to who can get that good slipstream and slingshot around this place. But speaking of trying to figure out how you want to play things out, we have our pit reporter with us once again, Michael W. Johnson, joining us here on this super speedway. And Michael, you were talking to us a little bit before we came live here about these drivers maybe not being as experienced with those strategy calls here. This is a mainly road crowd. What's it like as a road driver switching over to oval? What's some of the challenges that they might not be expecting? Seem to have lost Michael here for a second. We'll
Sorry, there we go. I'm sorry about that. I think one of the biggest things we're going to see here is the use of high line, low line. You'll hear a lot of the oval drivers talk about, oh, well, I made a high line pass or I made a low line pass. Being road drivers, we and the guys here are not as used to terminology like that and tactics like that. And it's been a lot of fun actually watching everybody kind of figure it out for themselves. They've heard these terms maybe, and they watch somebody do something. Every one of these guys is a really, really good racer, and they're so observant of what everybody around them does. And when they pick up a little hint, you can bet they're going to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I would hope so. And we've seen that on the roadside, the really clever calls that some of the drivers have been able to make just by picking up on tiny things around them. But those tiny movements, though, is really the big talking point, DJ. You mentioned the difficulty in trying to be smooth and not make any sudden jolts and try to be good in the pushing of the slipstream here today. I have to admit, I've never seen inebriated slipstream races, draft races, on an oval before. I am a little bit worried about what kind of regularity of the cautions we're going to have, unfortunately.
I'm right there with you, Joe. It definitely is a concern, but these guys out on track qualifying right now, they're doing a pretty good job, looking like they're able to get the toe around. But yeah, oval racing like this, it requires a lot of precision, even in a NASCAR, where, as we know, Rubbin is racing. You get a little bit of a bump just on the wrong side of the quarter panel, and it can send you around really, really easily. So these guys are going to have to be careful. They're going to have to be aware of exactly where everything is. And I think as these drinks start to come into play, that's going to make things pretty difficult for them as they try to run a good, clean line, because racing like this, it's not just racing yourself. You're also having to keep an eye on all, 7 sides of you to make sure that you're good and that you're clear on every side.
7 sides. Wait, you'll have to explain to me what 7 sides are around the car here.
Well, just talking about the corners and obviously the front and the back, I guess it's really 8 if you count it out. My math was never my strong suit, but you've got to watch out for the corners, because you can get a little bump from your right rear or your left rear, and that can throw you off a little bit if you're trying to shift lanes or something like that.
Okay, I got you now. See, I was thinking 4, as I was thinking on a 2D plane. So as we watch from on board, one thing I do love about these Four Drink Fridays is the drivers get to have a little bit of fun with the paint schemes as well. The number 8 of Kip Mitchell might be one of my favorites so far. Definitely would be my wife's favorite. It's we've seen it earlier. He's got Hello Kitty on the machine right now. We are on Jeffrey Shulam's car currently, and the number 11 currently behind the STP machine, going for a classic route instead of something humorous. So Mark Rondeau in that number 5 currently. Surprised he didn't choose the 43 to try and really make it accurate.
Yeah, I am too. And Joe, there you see a little bit of a sketchy bump draft. That's something that we're going to be seeing a little bit later on in the race. There you see Kip coming into the back of your screen with that Hello Kitty livery, as you were talking about. But that bump draft, I think, is going to come into play here in these Xfinity cars. It's certainly going to be helpful, and that's really the area you've got to be nice and flush on the back of the car to get it to work right, to get the cars to hook up. Looked like the 11 of Shulam was thinking about trying it. You can see the 3 there on the outside. That's Nick just holding around the outside, letting that momentum take him around, trying to find an angle to slot back in and get a little bit of draft. Running by yourself up there, that's not the way to go. You got to have friends around you to be able to get these cars to go fast around Daytona.
Yeah, something interesting I noted a bit earlier in practice is, like I was saying before, how they are testing things out and playing around and trying to figure out what they can get away with. And this is going to make most fans of NASCAR kind of suck through their teeth. But they were actually trying to do a little bump draft going around the high bank of the oval, and instead of just on those long stretches in between.
Yeah, that's generally frowned upon from our experience, but I guess it's a you live and you learn sort of thing for them, as there's Kip there with the sort of magenta Hello Kitty car here today. The other thing that I'm kind of wondering about this whole experimentation and learning and whatnot, I know you usually have a chance to talk to a lot of the drivers, Michael. Have any of them kind of given away what their strategies are likely to be? As there's a good example of getting hooked in the corner. Their strategies are going to be with the alcohol, because like I said, usually you have full control over, you pull over, you stop, you take your drink. Here, if you have to wait on the cautions, I mean, how do you try and play that?
It looks like a lot of it's going to be just play it by ear. I think there's a lot of thought about what they'd like to do, but very quickly everybody is learning how much they don't know about oval. Oval is really almost a different sport than the road races. There's so much different strategies, so much different thought that goes into how you put it together, and they're trying to take so much in and learn so much in such a short period of time. The strategies they thought might work, I think a lot of them are discovering just don't work the way they thought.
Yeah, it takes a learning curve. I hear a lot of people say it's just turning left, and I can tell you it is so much more than that. And I think we'll be certainly showing that here today, although in a bit more of a light-hearted tone. Speaking of which, one thing we do want to stress to our viewers is that because this is virtual, please make sure that you drink responsibly. The drivers who are drinking today are not actually driving physical cars, so they can do so safely. Please do not drink and drive in real life, and enjoy your alcohol in the privacy of your home. As we watch the Skittles number 7 machine certainly have a little bit of problem there. Corey Latvala trying to hold a straight line behind Momeyer for the time being in these final few seconds of the qualifying, but it does look like Ost is going to be our pole sitter unless we get a very late qualifying run from somebody here.
Well,
Yeah,
sorry. So these two guys right here were practicing exactly this during the practice early on, trying to get this little slingshot effect going around to see who can get that very quick run right at the end.
And it's not going to be Corey Latvala, unfortunately. And they will get an extra bit of time to finish hot laps, so Momeyer will be able to take this. But with him pushing, unfortunately, the 0X should probably cost him a clean lap here. I think he'll have to stay put in 11th. I see 15 cars here who are signed up, but Hollander not in the session right now, so I'm not sure if we'll get all 15. Hopefully at least 14 of them taking to the grid here today. This is Curtis Critchley in 13th place. He set a single qualifying lap last on the grid, and I'm not sure if he actually crossed the start-finish line before that checkered flag came out. And yeah, he's coming down to the apron, so it looks like he is done for the day.
Yeah, so Critchley will come on in here. And obviously, as we've said, Joe, qualifying isn't as important here, especially with the yellows that we are anticipating. But I have to say, I'd rather be starting up towards the pointy end of the field here. Definitely able to avoid a lot of problems that could happen or befall us early on in this race.
Now, a thought just occurred to me before we go to the grid here in a second. Michael, has anybody asked if they can drink during the pace lap? Is that against the rules?
Well, I guess technically the pace lap is some form of caution. I'm sure someone is going to be clever enough. Probably whoever's listening in right now is going to go, hey, that's right, and go ahead and slam a couple back.
Well, if we see anybody waving and it doesn't appear that they are heating their tires up, weaving rather, then maybe that'll answer our question. Let's go through that starting grid as Michael Ost will be on the pole, as Kip Mitchell will be to his outside. Corey Lotvilla starts from third, as Jeffrey Sykes will start from fourth. Then it is Mark Rondeau, P5, Nick Balsbaugh in sixth, and seventh, DJ, will go to Michael Bolton.
In eighth, it's going to be BJ Fulton, followed by Larry Haas, with Jeffrey Shulam and John Momeyer lining up behind them. Aaron Edwards will be 12th, followed by Curtis Critchley, and it does look like Peyton Howell has made the grid.
But Hollander is not in here. So as they now take off, we have, I think, 2 onboard cams. Do we want to go through? I believe we've got BJ Fulton starting from that 7th position. Ooh, running in VR. Is he a DD tonight, actually? Because it'll be difficult to drink with VR on, I would think. And then we have Corey Lotvilla with us as well here today. And unfortunately, he thought that we were drinking wine, so he has gone sideways for us tonight. So Corey Lotvilla will try to make the best he can out of the situation, but we appreciate the support on his t-shirt regardless. And we do want to give a shout out to one man who has big reason to celebrate tonight. Michael Bolton is drinking because it's his birthday. So happy birthday to Michael Bolton. Don't have too many, and enjoy some good racing on the celebration day.
Massive birthday congratulations out to him. As we get ready to get going here around Daytona, Joe. It's the first time we've seen an oval for 4 Drink Friday. It's going to be one heck of a show.
Yep, and we're coming off of turn 4 already following the iRacing pace car. Michael Ost will have control of the field. Have they figured out they don't want to get a big jump? Because we just said earlier, the drivers might not know some of the more intricacies of super speedway racing. Green flag is out, and Ost number 9 is off. He does get a bit of a jump pulling away, but it's not a huge one, so at least he won't be swamped by the field as we get up to speed. Lotvilla reeling him in, and it looks like nobody pushing on the high side quite yet as someone ducks down low. That looks to be Michael Bolton, actually, the birthday boy.
That was a very heads-up move there from Michael to cut down there, find that opening. Only problem there is it's really leaving Kip Mitchell all by his lonesome. Ooh, that's the 5 there. Mark Rondeau thinking about coming up, getting a little bit of side draft there as that low line pushes their way forward.
Speaking of wine, the 8 has been hung out to dry there on the high side. Now he's getting some friends. Looks like he might get a push from Momeyer in the 1.
Indeed, a little bit of drafting help there as they continue to move along. That high line just looking like they're not getting it together. You've got to work with the cars around you here at Daytona. You can't be running this race by yourself. It'll come back to bite you.
This is what I was talking about a little earlier with the inexperience on the oval. If you are an experienced oval driver, you're probably yelling at your screen right now going, guys, you got to work together, just like we're saying.
Indeed, and there don't seem to be many alliances at this point, as I think maybe the 55 brushed the wall. BJ Fulton suddenly falling backwards, unless he is intentionally trying to get to the back, which is a legitimate strategy here on super speedways for many drivers.
It is indeed. Nice little bump draft there from John Momeyer on the high line. That's a good way to run. Oh, there's some contact!
Oh, and that's Bolton, who is sent off, but he's off the racing line. Not sure if we're going to get a caution here. Someone drifted back up to the track, and I think that may have been Howell, who looks a little off pace. Everybody else able to keep going.
Yeah, and what it's really done is it's now allowed for a breakaway group up front. Curtis Critchley up 9 positions, John Momeyer up 8. So they're now going to be going. That is Momeyer diving up a little bit to the high side, thinking to see if he can pull Critchley along with him, but that's not going to go. It looks like everybody's just going to stick in this low line. Oh, that was Ost getting under the yellow line, and that's hard into the wall.
Oh, and flying through the air, Ost, despite starting on the pole, tumbles across, and just look at the mess of cars coming through.
I think we're going to have a lot of very mad virtual mechanics at this point.
Indeed. Now, the good news is because of the nature of Forward Dream Fridays, they tend to keep the damage off, which looks to be the case today. So they don't need to worry about that aspect, but it can bring out the cautions. And there you can see the big hits that the drivers were experiencing, collecting effectively pretty much everybody. I was about to ask, I wonder when we're going to get the first one so that people can drink, and the answer is on lap 3 as they catch up to the pace car now.
So one of the rules that was discussed this week was when the caution comes out, what happens to the guys who took the brunt of the hits? If they lose a lap or they fall a lap or two down, even in the caution, they can go all out and try to get back on that lead lap. So even if somebody does fall down a lap here, which I don't expect, this one doesn't seem too bad, they're going to be able to power around the pace car, have that black flag cleared, and catch up to the back of the pack.
That's good. Rather have more involved in the race on that lead lap. The more the merrier around here. And some people are pulling off. I think Haas didn't get the memo. The 12, I assume, is taking a drink. No, he took a tow.
We should check to see, maybe there's one glitch that we've discovered here, is if you hit the wall hard enough, your front tire comes through your engine bay and it doesn't fix it. So even with damage disabled, you end up with damage. So those folks are going to have to get in and have the tire removed from their motor and put back in the right place.
Do you see a number of drivers popping in? I wonder if this is topping up on fuel since they can't make it the full expected distance. It is a 40-minute race, but they probably will have to come in at least once to top up, assuming we get enough green flag running. It could wind up a caution fest. You never know. I'm curious who has drank or not. I see a few of them that look like they have entered that in. Michael Bolton. I see Mark Rondeau as well as Michael Ost. But the good news is we don't have to wait too long for cautions. And now Jeffrey Sykes enters in that he is bidding, as we should only have a single lap under yellow.
Yeah, that's one of the rules that these guys have set down, so we will be going back under green. Obviously, double file restarts here. Schulem able to keep himself ahead relatively well. Kip Mitchell getting ready to go here in this front row.
You know, one thing I feel like, Michael, this might help on in the drinking is normally you have to really try and shotgun that thing as quickly as possible. Here with the caution, I would assume you could take a little bit of time since it takes, what, a little over a minute to get around?
Yeah, you could pretty much pour yourself a nice, fine 2005 Bordeaux, let it sift for a while, get the aromas out, wait for it to really mature in the glass, and then have a couple of sips. I think it would work well.
Well, it's working well for Kip Mitchell, who's going to retake the lead on the restart. Oh, but he had a big jump and a very poor start for the 11 of Schulem on the outside as he immediately drops back. And they start to catch up to Kip Mitchell, but it looks like they have no interest in trying to get around him. Now that we've got a few drinks in them, will this be more difficult to hold the line?
Well, it looks like on the high side there, some guys learning some lessons. Ooh, that's the 46 taking a going 4 wide there down the backstretch, getting a little spicy here early on in this race. That is a great run from Peyton Howell.
There's a quick learner for you. The 46 up to the front. Highline, though, continuing to challenge. Schulem found the speed again now that he's got some helpers. Bolton pushing him along. The one of Momeyer is going to get tipped, and he goes around. Will we get a caution? So far, we're staying green. A number of cars falling to the inside. Rondeau involved. Critchley gets turned around. So a couple of them, unfortunately, falling to the back of the field, but still no yellow.
Well, that's going to be a little bit thankful for some of these drivers and a little bit of a pain up front. We finally got that 2x2 action that we like. That's Howell being a little bit defensive there, trying to block off, but that's Bolton getting a nice push on the outside.
And Schulem leading the way. Does he duck down? Oh, he had the clear. but he didn't take it. He wants to continue on the high side as back up to the front moves Peyton Howell. He is going to switch lanes instead. Oh, and drifting out into the wall, the 11, getting a little distracted off the corner.
Yeah, a little bit distracted, but able to keep it together. So now we are 3 by 3 here as we continue to run along. Again, that's Howell coming to the inside. Somebody better slide up and give him a hand, or he is going to get passed on all sides here. He's got to be careful about that. Again, though, the 11, Jeffrey Shulam, making contact with the wall.
I think the drinks are taking effect there for Jeffrey as he can't seem to keep it between the lines. Meanwhile, Kip Mitchell is leading, and Aaron Edwards now the pusher behind him in second. Sykes slots in along with Howell and Bolton. We have a 5-car breakaway.
We do indeed. Everybody chasing down Kip Mitchell here. A little bit of a run to the outside there for Jeffrey Sykes. It looks like for a second Howell was going to join him, and now I think it's Bolton coming up to that high line to join him. So now these 5 cars working their way around. Are we going to see a little bump draft here from Peyton Howell coming on the front stretch into the 4? That got a little spicy for Aaron Edwards. Some more contact, and that's Bolton in the wall.
And that sets off the caution. Bolton goes around, but he catches it. A little bit of a stream of cars that you see going by. That was Fulton, Lotvilla, Bowsbaugh, and Ost that we're trying to catch back up. And I think the only wave around we're going to get is Haas in the 12, who should be able to get back on the lead lap.
I think that's right. We can check out the replay here from Bolton's perspective. Just a little bit of, I think, unintentional 3 wide there. I had mentioned how Howell was running in the middle there quite a bit, and that really came back to bite there as they were making their way through the corners.
I think you're seeing here a lot of the experienced drivers like Howell, who's done a lot of oval driving, discover what it's like, again, to race with people who don't quite understand those little fine nuances that come about in the oval racing. But I think he's still pulling it out pretty well. I am looking at him to work his way just gradually through to the finish. Right now, my money's on Howell.
Yeah, he's been looking pretty good and certainly knows how to make some moves. Though some of the drivers did not get the memo about the pace car being quite slow compared to full tilt, and you see them all having to scatter as they slow up, and more drivers now taking drinks, and they have to get themselves into the right order on top of it.
So they'll have to sort themselves out here quite quickly as they get ready to go. We'll obviously have one more pace lap when they cross the line, but yeah, that pace truck can slip by and be very, very unsuspecting when you are on an oval like this. It's a big speed difference. Even when you're sober, it can catch you out.
You know, one thing you find in the normal races, in normal iRacing, is whoever is in the lead or just coming up to that pack will often say, hey, we're pace car in turn 1 or pace car in turn 3. And that way everyone coming up who's trying to catch up knows. But I'm not sure if these guys are quite doing that.
You know, this kind of reminds me, Michael, of the old IROC days where they had drivers of even from F1 and all kinds of wild areas come in and race at places like Daytona or these massive ovals in stock cars, and have to suddenly find their sea legs, if you will, in sort of very talented company.
It is interesting to see the way you have a different skill set. There's a lot that's the same. You have to have a good touch of the wheel. You have to understand how the car is balanced. You need to feel where the weight is. All that matters. But when you realize you're doing close to 200 miles an hour and you're going around a corner to try to get a 1/10 of an inch away from that outside wall, or here, I mean, not so much on a super speedway. You can kind of hug the bottom line all the way around if you want, but especially some of these shorter tracks where they're scooting around and they get all the way up to the edge of just scraping that right side up against up against that wall. Well, I think you find a lot of people discover it's a lot more talent than they expected.
Indeed. You know, one of my favorite stories from the IROC days is Martin Brundle said that one time on an oval, he had Dale Earnhardt come up to his car and start talking about his family, and then went and left, and they took the green flag minutes later. And he said, Later, he realized that was absolutely a psychological tactic that he was using to get him thinking about things that'll make him make less risky moves. So,
And as an F1 fan, I can definitely hear that in Martin Brundle's voice.
oh yes, it was one of my favorite stories I've ever heard from him. Meanwhile, green flag is out, and the 8 leads once again. This time, though, Sykes jumps down to the bottom line immediately. In fact, they get single file quite quickly. And so the field now getting up to speed and very, very spread out. Larry Haas just catching up to them as he took his wave around. It is not quite to the back of the field yet, but we have 4 cars up at the front. Looks like it's going to be 5 once Ost catches them.
Yeah, that's Edwards and Shulam there running behind Sykes and Mitchell at the moment, trying to figure out when they're going to make that move to the high line. I think there's probably just a little bit of hesitation. Looks like Sykes is thinking about it, but nobody wants to follow him. Flirting down with that yellow line there. You got to be very careful. That is such an abrupt change in banking. You run those left side tires over it, and the car does not like that, Joe.
The only car on the high side right now is the number 7 of Latvala. Nobody going with him yet, but it looks like Howell might. Here we go. Couple of them popping up into the second lane. I see Michael Bolton joining in. The 46, though, has no interest. He almost takes it 3 wide. Bolton gets back down low, and it is going to be 3 wide. Peyton doesn't like being in the back. 4 wide down the back stretch, and somehow they squeak through there with the 46 still moving forward. He starts to drift, and suddenly it's another big one. And we got another caution as we catch that one on screen.
I was literally just thinking, what could possibly go wrong now?
Oh no, he low-sided it. Let off the throttle, bud. There you go.
There, he got it. All right. That's another one of the things you have to worry about when you're running Daytona. So very difficult to be able to get right. But there you go. The 7 of Corey Lotfula finally getting everything wound back together as they get going back under yellow here. Coming back in single file. Let's see if they can handle catching this pace car a little bit easier. But let's check out the replay here, Joe.
Boy, doing an absolute helicopter. It's quite spectacular from the 7 coming to a halt. Now, did we get someone on their lid?
VR. Latvala is in VR through this, so he's getting the full experience of this rotation.
Oh, there you can see Critchley just getting bowled over there. And that was really all caused by Peyton Howell coming up on that high side and just running out of space. You can see it right there. The car bleeds speed, and then Critchley really left with nowhere to go. That forces him down into Latvala, and that's what causes this pileup. And yeah, you're right, Joe. Just an absolute helicopter there from Latvala. I do not envy that man's stomach in VR.
Especially if he has had drinks in him. John Momeyer, for some reason, came into pit lane and has gone a lap down. Try to see if we can figure out what caused that. Peyton Howell also coming down onto the pits and pulling to a halt and also taking a tow. Some strange goings on from some of our drivers, and I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Some of this may be fuel related. If you remember, we were talking about how they might not have enough fuel, depending on the number of cautions, to make the full 40 minutes. So it's quite possible it's fuel, or could be tires, because remember, this track is somewhat abrasive and is going to eat those tires up. And if they don't feel comfortable going around the high bank, where they can hold that line, that midline, the high line, low line, whichever they're trying to run, they might decide to jump in and get some tires to feel a little more confidence, especially with a couple of beers in them.
Well, the thing I'm trying to figure out is why are we seeing drivers tow to the pits, especially after they come into pit lane? Because that's what's confusing me here. Is I'm trying to understand what is eliciting that. As I think we're going to get back to green here on this lap, and this time it appears that it'll be Jeffrey Sykes instead of Kit Mitchell leading the way.
Indeed. It'll be interesting to see what Jeffrey does with control of the field. We saw that big space out and then that coming together on the backstretch that happened last time. Be interesting to see now what Jeffrey decides to do. Maybe he's going to take it a little bit slower.
Nice thing about this race is because of the way that they're running the rules, should have everybody able to fight for the victory come the last lap, which they cannot have a caution on that last lap, by the way. So we will be able to finish, or should be able to hopefully finish under green here as Jeffrey Sykes takes off. Bad start there for the 8. Oh, and look at the jump the 5 is getting. The STP car is just plowing his way through the field, but now he lifts a little and slots in behind the 9.
Indeed. All right, so a little bit more of a 2x2. That's a very high line in the back there from Mark Rondeau, getting a little bit out of the draft. I'm sure Kip Mitchell is begging right now for Michael Ost to pull up a little bit closer to him. Aaron Edwards coming up behind here. Now we're in a nice little Noah's Ark 2x2, a little bit of a bump draft there between Ost and Mitchell. That's going to be appreciated by the 8. Does he try to cut down? No, looks like he's going to stay high.
And it looks like they may have learned their lesson about pushing in the corners as well, because I see very few cars staying hooked up down through 3 and 4. Coming up to the tri-oval, it's a good run for the 8 of Kip Mitchell. He's going to lead that lap. He's clear if he wants it, but once again, he does not cut down in front of Sykes. Now he goes, and he's going to take the bottom line away.
He is, but flirting with that yellow line again. He's getting a little bit squirrely. Going to have to be careful about that. That looks like Sykes trying to give him a little bit of a bump draft down the back straightaway. There is, you can see on the high line, that's Ost and Rondeau maybe trying to make a good push here. That's Ost being very smart, trying to tuck down, get a little bit of the side draft if he can.
Down into 3 and 4 once again. Still being led by Kip. Sykes in second. Highline has Ost trying to pull up ahead. He's got a push from Rondeau. And as they approach the timing line once again, he's not going to be able to lead that lap, but he's got good momentum. Will he be able to clear him before turn 1?
Looks like he is, but it looks like he's going to prefer that high line. That's Rondeau getting a little bit up and back. Now, remember, he wants to probably poke his nose up a little bit. Keep that engine cool. If you don't do that and get some clean air into the front radiator of these Xfinity cars, there is a potential that they can blow. So you've got to be careful about that. Now, that is Edwards looking like it. It looked like the 3 there of Balsma in the back maybe thought about having a run. A little bit more of a spaced out running here. Everybody calming down a little bit. This looking a little bit more normal. Little bit of a wiggle there for Jeffrey Sykes, though, coming out of turn 4.
DJ, you were talking about the engine temperatures there. They actually tried to blow up the motors earlier on in practice. They wanted to see if, given the no damage model that's going on right now, if that was one of those damage things that would still come through. So I'm kind of curious to watch and see what happens. They never did find that point where the motor would actually blow up.
Well, I have something fun to do with some friends a little later then, as we watch them come down the backstretch. Ost able to get his nose ahead, but he's not been able to try and overtake Kip Mitchell fully. I think he and the 5 are really going to have to start working together. Oh, they're wavering quite a bit coming off of 4. Drinks are starting to hit. We're past halfway into this race. This time, the 9 will lead. Does he want to try and cut down? He's just about clear. The 5 not fully on the bumper. He's ahead of him, and still he leaves it open.
Yeah, still leaves it open there. They're going to be alongside each other as they come out of turn 2 again there. That's Rondeau doing a lot of weaving. That would make me very scared if I'm Edwards behind him, but there we're going to get nice and together. Nice little bump draft there in the back from Aaron Edwards to Jeffrey Sykes. Ooh, that's Edwards flirting a lot with that yellow line on the entry to 3.
Wanted to point out how great it is these guys are doing at learning. If you recall earlier in the broadcast, I was talking about they're not used to the oval, they don't know the tactics, they don't know as much about it. But look at them now. If you look at the first few laps of the race and you look now, you're noticing a lot more structure in how they're trying to set up and how they're putting their lines together, or their drafts trains together to get around the track and work those side drafts, work the draft nose to tail. You really see the process of learning over these past 22 minutes or so.
Certainly looks a lot more organized than before, and we've been going a few laps without a caution, which is a good sign. Knock on wood. And We only have, though, 11 cars on this lead pack. We're missing Critchley, Howell, and Momeyer, who are kind of split around the circuit. Oh, we got a caution. Looks like Larry Haas involved in that one. I think that the 12 got hooked up with the 11 coming off of turn 4. And it was a great avoidance from BJ Fulton. You'll see in the green car here.
And so we're watching that 11 and 12 right there, I believe. Yeah, that's Shulam coming up. Oh, just didn't realize they were there. Yeah, and you're right, Joe. Amazing avoidance from BJ Fulton, just recognizing where that was and getting away from it in perfect time.
I'm curious if the guys who are a lap down, we've got Critchley, Howell, Momeyer, and Shulam all a lap down. If they're going to take advantage of that ability to make the run around, everybody gets the lucky dog in this case, with the yellow coming out.
I believe the stewards have the ability to wave them by. So hopefully that should happen. If not, yeah, they'll at least clear the black flags. We're now up to 4 drivers that are a lap down. Should get the 1 to go this time by, thankfully. And it is Michael Ost who was just ahead of Kip Mitchell when they threw that caution. So he will start in front. And there's proof. At least we have, before it was sort of on the honor system before, Michael, but now we can at least check in on a few of them.
Yeah, being able to peer in on how these guys are working their headsets with the VR headsets and trying to drink. I can tell you from experience, it is quite difficult, and kind of tried to work together this shotgun system for myself. It was a spectacular failure in my part, so I kind of went back to what he's doing there.
So you're saying those on VR might have a drinking problem?
Most definitely, absolutely, without question.
Had to pull the old school airplane in there. In the meantime, 15 minutes left on the clock, and we have gotten the 1 to go, I thought, but we are single file. Did they change it from double file to single file here on these restarts?
Not that I've heard, but if we're going to go old school airplane, we could say something about having a draft in the draft.
I like that. Very well played, sir. And it looks like we do have everybody except Jeffrey Shulam on the lead lap once again. So 13 cars now that should be able to try for the win.
Yeah, so a good amount here still to go. And Joe, it does look like the lights are out. So we are gridding up to go 2 by 2 here to get back under green.
See, I'm so
Shulam
used
is actually coming out of the pits right now. He may be trying to make a run around, at least catch up and hope for another yellow. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, that's his best hope right now. I'm so used to all the oval drivers who tend to kind of line up almost immediately before even their 1 to go. These guys took until turns 3 and 4. Green flag is out. Ost is going to have the lead, and Kip Mitchell likes to try and cut down to the bottom. No, he's going to come back up to the top. Oh, we've already got a spinner and another caution. Well, this is great news for Shulam.
Yes, it is indeed. He'll be able to catch back up to the field there quite easily. Everybody trying to slow down here. Very tricky to apply the brakes in the corners. But there is the spinner. I believe that may have been Howell I saw off. This is Critchley that we're following.
It starts with Howell hitting Haas, and Larry unfortunately spins into Critchley.
Yeah, and that's what
Gonna try and take another view on that.
Yeah, there we go. Here we can see it. Yeah, Haas just sees it. Doesn't quite think he's clear of Howell, clips him. That hits Critchley. And yeah, I noticed the 2 of them coming down on the apron, but I think it was the spinning Critchley that actually caused the yellow to get triggered.
I'm pretty sure that's not an authorized shortcut there. I don't think they allow that one.
No, not quite. Certainly not the racing line here. And Now under 13 minutes to go. You know, something that occurred to me earlier as well, Michael, that I didn't really think about as much as, again, we don't have to worry about when we're doing the road races here in Forge Ring Friday. These cautions do suck up some of the time. That's less time to try and race and get to the front.
Well, which is why you really don't want a caution unless you're the guy who just spun out and they're stuck at the back and you need to get back to a drafting group. But yeah, the cautions are kind of part of your strategy too when you start learning the way cautions are played in a NASCAR style race.
So looking like maybe we'll get a restart just about 10 minutes to go or so. So we're getting down towards the end of it. And I think they are having to catch the pace car here as they come by pit entry. See if we got anybody else in this time. Looks like, yeah, everybody. Oh, no, we do have one that is heading towards pit lane. That looks to be Larry Haas, actually, who is coming towards that. So he must still need a tiny little bit of fuel to get to the finish in this last bit. We've actually made it to about 26 laps, which shouldn't be the end of the fuel window for these cars. I will say they can tend to make about 35 fully under green.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. I think for Larry, that may just be a little bit of a safety measure just to quickly do it. But looks like the lights are off, so he better get out of the pits here pretty quick. We're about ready to go green again.
And we've got Jeffrey Schulem making his pass around the pace car now. It looks like if he can make it back around here, he could actually be part of the main pack.
Yeah, he's picking up speed, so he's trying to cycle his way back around, and he's now back on the lead lap. Larry is rolling as well, although I think Larry must be feeling the drinks because he is somehow worked his way onto the apron into the grass and is now coming to a halt. So not sure what is going on as we now get ready for the green flag. The 9 is getting ready to go. The green flag is out. It's a pretty big jump. He's going to get gobbled up here as the 5 behind him. Looks like he's going to get a push. And I think that is Sykes, who is currently rolling up there. Yeah, they're coming up quickly, but they decide not to take it. And Ost will retain the lead.
Yes, he will on that high side. That's the 8 of Kip Mitchell begging for Corey Lotfella to come up there and give him a little bit of help. There's a bit of a checkup on the start for Rondeau. There's some of that bumping coming into play. Good bump draft there behind from Corey Lotfella. That's going to propel Kip Mitchell into the lead as they go into 3.
Mitchell's got it clear. He hasn't taken it every time, though. And he's holding the middle. That's not what you want here. The 7 is having to back up as well. They're going to go 3 wide for the front.
That was very scary up in there, Joe, and there's a big crash. Oh, that's all of your leaders turned safe for Michael Ost. That's pretty much the field.
The 3 does make it through. And that was Nick Ballsbow. Lotfella once again having quite the adventures tonight.
I think we're going to have an unsafe pit entry there for Lotfella also. Hopefully that gets cleared as well.
I have seen a couple drivers already have black flags cleared for coming down into pit lane. Yeah, one of the unique features with that grass, there's no wall separating pit lane. You can easily find yourself flying down the pits.
Joe, I'm pretty sure every driver in our field, save our leader, Michael Ost, was involved in that incident in some way, shape, or form.
We did have BJ make another really nice avoidance as he went through there.
Yeah, we're going to watch from BJ's perspective here. Sees the smoke. He didn't totally come out clean, but no damage, so that's not really a worry. He just kept it pointed forward.
There are advantages to damage being off, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. He had a very I believe in you, Cole moment.
Did indeed, Joe. Momeyer, this is some great car control from John there. Really able to do that. When these Xfinity cars, any really in the NASCAR family, they get into a tail slapper. It's hard to control.
Yeah, we know Momeyer from the Porsche Owners Club races in the GT4, and he shows a lot of talent there, and that talent is coming out when he's on the oval too.
Absolutely. Yeah, the cream does tend to rise to the top. If you're a high I rating on ovals or on road, it usually translates from what I've witnessed here on the sim. And Michael Ost going to be retaking the start. We got another quick caution. Actually, you know, good question to have. Do we have green-white checkers on?
That's a good question. I don't think that question ever came up when they were putting this together. And I was tempted to ask, but there were so many other questions about, do we do this type of caution or that type of caution, that I don't think we ever got around to that point.
Okay, well, we'll find out soon enough. The main reason I ask is if we have a yellow right at the end, it'd be a bit of a sad ending to this race to have it finish under yellow, but sometimes that's the nature of some oval racing, and that's something they got to think about. Of course, that'll potentially make it very frantic in the last laps with everybody trying desperately to get to the front. We'll see if that desperation appears, because we're coming down to 6 minutes left to go, and Ost will have control of the field as the iRacing pace car is going to give way. There it goes. Michael Ost waiting on it. Green flag waves, and another huge jump for him. The field doesn't seem to have figured out quite yet that if the leader gets a jump, you can just pass on by him.
Yeah, not exactly. I'll tell you who has figured out something. That is the 12 on the low line there of Larry Haas. I don't think you're allowed to pass under the yellow line, but he's having some fun going for it. But right now we've got Michael Bolton all by his lonesome up on the high side. But look out, that's Peyton Howell coming up with a run to give him a hand.
A little bit of a bump draft from the 15 to Jeffrey Sykes as well, but then he backed off of that. Peyton Howell moves up to the rear of Michael Bolton. They come around turns 3 and 4. Bolton's got a friend. Is he going to be able to push him all the way to the front with the experience he's got behind him? 15 also likes the looks of this. He goes to the high side as well.
And that's beneficial for Howell as Bolton jumped down to the low line now, trying to figure out which way he wants to go. That's Critchley in the 15, trying to hold on a little bit. Ooh, watch it. We've seen him get involved in a couple of accidents here. Just keep it nice and straight. That's the way to go. Now they're waiting on the 3 behind of Ball's going to maybe catch up and get a good run. Good bump draft there from Critchley to Howell. That's going to propel Howell into the lead.
12 cars here on the lead lap in contention for the victory. Peyton Howell doesn't cut down, and Michael Bolton, now having some speed on the shorter distance, is going to move back up to the front. Oh, it's getting a little shaky back there, but they save it.
Very nice catch from everybody all the way around. Meanwhile, up front, we continue to just sort of go back and forth here between Bolton, Howell, Ost, and Critchley. Everybody just sort of trading off drafts here. That's Sykes looking pretty good in the background. Pretty good run there in the number 4. Oh, that's the 7 off hard into the wall.
A number of drivers caught up in it. The 11, the 55. I see the 1 also finding himself across the grass.
Looks like Latvilla got himself caught up in that one too. Showing off the Hoonigan skills. If you notice the Hoonigan on the back of the car, that was pretty good. I'm guessing the VR isn't his friend again at the moment.
Poor Latvilla just barely getting hooked too. Almost got away with it. So just another look there of the incident as they all slide to the self-cleaning racetrack down to the bottom. Once again, they have to catch the pace car.
Did BJ magically slide through that one again? I mean, we might have to call that move a Fulton from now on, because it looks like he might have just barged through without damage on and just able to kind of tap a couple of cars and just fall right in line with everyone else.
Yeah, he got a little hit here and there, but other than a slide, he caught it. You're right. Great job by the 55.
Yeah, indeed. Very, very good from him to be able to move his way forward on that. So we're going to restart again here in a lapse time. You know, boys, I'm really starting to look pretty seriously at the 46 here of Peyton Howell. He's been throwing some good moves out here tonight. Really looks like he has some of that NASCAR savvy. We're right on board with him. He started 12th. He's up to second on that high line. He gets the right pusher behind him. This could get very, very interesting.
Howell is one of those really experienced drivers when it comes to the oval tracks. He does know what he's doing, and he's watching what everybody around him's doing. Well, like that. Oh, wait, we can't call it a Fulton anymore.
I was just going to say, some know what they're doing, but apparently others do not, as they wreck under caution. No harm, no foul on that one. But I think we're going to get the white flag when they come back to green, because it's about a minute 49, it seems, under yellow to get around this place, and they crossed with a little over 2 minutes left. So this means I believe they should get the white flag when they come to green, and it's going to be a one-lap dash to the finish. So hold on to your hats.
It's going to get very, very interesting, as this is where it's going to all be made, Joe. 1 to go here at Daytona. This is what you live for.
I'm going to be watching for Critchley also to work his way up here. Another one of those experienced drivers. I think he's going to find his way, tuck in behind Howell, and see where he can maybe get a little shake and bake slingshot going on.
Sadly, Haas and Rondeau don't seem to be getting the wave around, so they're going to be a lap down. They are not in contention for the win, but from first on down to 12th, every driver that you saw on your tower are eligible to try and win here for the July edition of 4 Drink Friday. Glad you can join us for the first time ever. We're going to see a one-lap shootout to the finish after our first oval race has brought us to caution at the perfect time here at Daytona International Speedway. Here they come. The pace car getting ready to pull off. Bolton looking for it. Green flag is out, but Bolton does not bolt. It is Howell who gets a better start around the outside. He immediately moves to the bottom side. The 46 has got to jump. 2 cars taken out immediately. They are no longer in the running at the back. At the front, it is Howell, Bolton, Ost, and Sykes.
And that's Sykes trying to make the high line work. That's Howell getting very, very defensive up front. Sykes trying to get the buddy. That's Critchley coming up on the high line with them. Watch out for that high line run.
White flag officially out. They are going green to the finish here. Howell trying to throw the block, and a few of them are getting tangled. Oh, and Bolton's involved in it. A few managed to sneak through. Are they too far back? Peyton Howell has a nice gap to behind. It is Corey Lotfula in second. Shulam running in third, trying to run him down. He's got a huge head of steam. I think Lotfula is going to get it. He's going to try and go around the outside. Another thrown block there from Peyton Howell, but it's not enough. And the 7 is going to take the win sideways across the line.
I think that's the most entertaining finish yet on a 4 Drink Friday, and there have been some amazing finishes, but crossing the line sideways, I think is got to garner some style points here.
Absolutely. And was actually shoved across. If we watch this from above, can we slow-mo this? Because the 46 T-bones him right as they come to the line. That was very close to Howell actually snatching that away at the last second. Look at that.
Oh,
and the 11
absolutely.
too.
I thought when they got together, Joe, that was going to be Shulam's race. Absolutely fantastic. Loving that so much. There is no better way to have this kind of race finish than what we just saw.
I agree, but this is going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. We saw a fantastic finish here for our first ever oval race in this series, with Corey Lotvilla winning by 300ths rather, over Peyton Howell, getting wrecked across the line. Howell just barely ahead of Jeffrey Shulam as well, who finished third. Nick Balsbaugh was in P4 with Kip Mitchell winding up fifth. The rest of the drivers scrambling to the line after the wreck on the backstretch. Bolton sixth, Critchley seventh, and Jeffrey Sykes in eighth. Our pole sitter Ost sadly down in ninth in the end. Top 10 was wrapped up by Edwards' last one on the lead lap as the rest of the drivers limped home. And we've got our second place finisher, Peyton Howell. Peyton, congratulations on a podium, but we talked a lot about how you were one of the few with experience here tonight. What was it like trying to race around these guys?
It was a lot of fun trying to race around these guys. The no damage was a pretty funny thing to happen with all the big wrecks that was happening. Everybody could just keep going. Even though whenever I got caught up in one of the wrecks, I couldn't go forward, so I had to tow, so I was a lap down for half the race. And then once I got the lap back, and I went from the back to the front about 18 times, it felt like. And once I finally got back up there, and then we had the caution, and then the green, white, checkered was a blast.
Yeah, that was absolute perfect timing for that. Now, if we have some more road races, do you think you'll come back and participate, or would you like these to be some more ovals for these 4 Drink Fridays?
It doesn't matter to me. I'm a road course guy or an oval guy. Whichever one you go to, I'll be going to. But and also these races depend on my real life schedule, if I can even race them or not.
That's totally understandable. Second place, though, got to feel pretty good this evening. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out CGE and Curtis Critchley for helping me there as much as he could, and shout out to Pete Polini. He's been in a couple of these races, but he was diagnosed with cancer, so we praying for him.
Yes, definitely in our thoughts, as that was our second place finisher, Peyton Howell. And up next, I believe we have our winner with DJ Clark.
Well, Corey, you were able to get to the line first, but you did it sideways. It had to be a fun way to win.
Oh, man. I was in the back on that restart, and I'm like, there's one lap to go. Everyone's been crashing, so I'll sit back and see what happens. I wasn't in the back on purpose, but it ended up playing out, so it was good.
Well, I mean, it looked like a lot of fun out there. I think you were in the back 4 or 5 times. How's your stomach, though? Because you took a couple of tumbles there that in VR had to be a little unsettling.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I try to just close my eyes. That's the best way to do it. It'll get to you if you watch the car rolling like that.
I'm sure, man. Well, we're used to seeing you on the roadside. How you like doing this just left turn and stuff?
It's pretty fun. If anyone's thinking about doing it, I'd definitely recommend it. It looks boring to watch, but when you're in the car drafting and trying to stay out of everyone else, it's pretty fun. It's really fun.
Well, I love that, man. I think we may have a guest question here for you from Mr. Michael Johnson.
So, Corey, I got to first say I loved every second watching you through that. That was absolutely amazing to see a diehard road guy do such a great job on the oval. But were you tempted at all, even a little bit, to dive into the infield going through turn 1?
Oh, of course. That's the best part. I wanted to for sure, but I don't think the car would have handled it.
Well, the wall would be a little bit of a hard thing to pass through at that point.
Yes, for sure.
Well, Corey, anybody you'd like to thank for this victory here?
Just friends and family, everyone watching. You guys for always putting on a great show. I absolutely, like I always say, I love coming back and watching all the videos. I'll probably watch this thing 4 or 5 times and the finish probably 20. So thanks. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you guys putting on such a good show. Ladies and gentlemen, that was your winner here tonight, Corey Lotvilla. And now Joe Peak has caught up with Jeffrey Sykes.
Yes, indeed. Jeffrey coming home in 8th today. Jeff, obviously getting a little caught up in that wreck there at the end on the backstretch. Before that unfolded, what was your plan coming down to the line?
So I called Bolton to go to the outside, and as he started to pull out, car number 1, of course, pulled out 2 to block, and then I was just looking down on the inside, and the wall was right there, and that's what happened.
Well, it's unfortunate to see you weren't able to really try and employ things all the way down to the finish. But this is our first time doing an oval race for the Four Drink Friday. Do you want to see more of these? Maybe some more wacky combos of maybe like non-oval cars on ovals, or do you think this is just a one-time effort for you guys and let's go back to road?
No, I'm 4 drinks in, and this was definitely an easy way to ease back into these 4 Drink Fridays. And I haven't actually touched the sim since the 4 Drink Fridays. So yeah, this was fun for sure. I'd do it again.
Glad to hear the approval. We had fun calling it from here in the booth. Coming up in the next month, though, do you have any suggestions? Do you think that you have some combinations in mind that you think could be a good time?
Yeah, I always love either the off-road trucks or the rally cars on like a road course. That's always a fun combination when you start mixing it up with the shortcuts.
I agree. We always love getting to see those. It's a good zany time. Well, commiserations that it wasn't a better finish. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while we got you?
No, thanks for putting everything on and the group and the 4 Drink Fridays and GSRC, all that. It's been awesome. Thank you, guys.
Jeffrey Sykes, 8th place there today, starting from 4th here at Daytona. That's going to close us out. I want to give a big thank you, of course, to our sponsors, Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. As well as Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, DJ, and Dougie, as well as a big thank you to Michael Johnson for coming in and joining us here in the booth. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Keep a link in the description below so it's nice and easy to find. While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And next time, again, in a month's time, we're coming back Friday, August 27th at 9:45 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.